This is a very nice colony of a slime mould which has come out of the wood in its early stage and formed this mass of fruit bodies on the moss on the surface of the log. And this is quite an extensive colony because it's from here across to here. So that was all originally one cell inside the tree feeding for some time, and then it emerges and produces lots of little tiny fruiting bodies, millimetre or so across, on the surface of the moss. And spores will be produced, are being produced, in fact that's why it has this black sootiness around it, from the opened fruit body. It's sitting on the moss not because it's in any way been feeding on it, but simply it's something to sit on to get your spores up into the air. Everything needs a support, and these have to get up into the air. Well, I'm looking at the fruit bodies, and one of the nice things about them is that they've got a little stalk which attaches them to the moss, and then this sort of round head which is covered in white flakes of calcium carbonate, and then inside there's a beautiful network of very fine colourless threads and little white lumps which contain again white calcium carbonate, and in between that are the very dark brown, almost black spores, and when they fall out they cover the whole of the surround with this soot-like mass. And each fruit body is barely more than 1 millimetre across and just over 1 millimetre high. The spores, on the other hand, are 1/100th of a millimetre in diameter. Not that I can see them with my hand lens, but that's what they look like under the microscope. So they are quite small objects, and round about the same size as the majority of fungus spores, in fact, about 1/100th of a millimetre. Well, we found another beautiful colony here, and this is not the same species as we saw earlier. This has clusters of very shiny black fruit bodies, although they will turn grey as they become dry. At the moment they're very soggy, they've just formed overnight, but they're clustered almost like little blackberries on the moss. And this is a related species to the one we saw before, but it's much less common and may even be the first record for this site. I have to check that later. And it is extremely beautiful. Lower down we have slightly older material from the same species, probably from the same original individual, but other parts fruiting on the side rather than the top of the log. They are a few hours older, and that's why they are grey rather than black. I've just made a very exciting discovery here. On this creeping buttercup leaf are the fruit bodies of another slime mould, and you can actually see where it has been creeping, and the network of the gelatinous tubes which were part of its feeding stage have given rise to these lines of fruit bodies on the surface of the leaf, and it's on both sides of the leaf. Quite a few slime moulds start off in the soil and then climb up vegetation to produce their spores, and this is a wonderful case in point. And this is a quite different species from the ones we've seen already. And again, extremely beautiful.